Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to the NAO show. This is the Prince. That's Marky Mark. And we're here to tell you about four NFL teams, their past, present, and future. This is the Christmas Carol of NAO show. What's up, Marky Mark?
Christmas Carol.
Have you seen the Christmas Carol?
No, it's just that surprised me. That's good, man. That's good.
Hey, I gotta keep you old people on your toes. You know what I mean?
Hey, thanks for using the air quotes when you said old. So
I'm here to make you happy.
it's all relative, all relative. All right, yeah, we are going to talk about four teams. They all happen to be bad teams, and we decided we'd talk a little bit about their drafts and if we think they're going to be better or not this year. So we're going to kick it off with the home state for Sean and I, New York Giants.
Hold it against us. I dare you.
Yeah. Sean's dad is a big Giants fan. So this is for dad. This is for your dad. Yeah. So the Giants, I like their draft a lot, which is surprising to say because usually you're like, scratching your head, what the hell were they doing? But they got Thibodeau on the edge. Just going through a couple of the top ones. They got Evan Neal at tackle, Wan'Dale Robinson at wide receiver in the second round. Those first two were first rounders. They got a guard in the third round, Joshua Azidu. I think that's how you say his name. They got a tight end in the fourth round, Daniel Bellinger. I like what they did because they addressed some needs with those first two picks and got two of the top guys in the draft in the bargain. So they really needed somebody on that line to help out Daniel Jones. I mean, that line has just been atrocious. Thibodeau is definitely going to be an anchor for him there. I don't know. What do you think, Sean? I don't want to sit here and take up the whole time.
This kind of reminds me of what the Dallas Cowboys did a long time ago when they weren't great with Romo. I love Romo. I will go on the record as I am right now and say Romo is a fantastic quarterback and be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And the fact that he is even better at calling football games than being in football games is a true testament of his ability to do his job. But I like that it's kind of like an old school draft for the Giants this year. They're kind of working from the inside out. They needed to do this because they were focusing on wide receiver for like the last 5 years. And has that worked out? Do not even bring up Kenny Golladay to me because he is dead to me. I don't even know who that guy is. But yeah, I liked it for the Giants. When we were watching it, I was like, man, the Giants are really focusing on what they actually need and not the big, like second tier, high priced person that's going to really jump off the page. But something that other guy said to me one time that kind of stuck with me. I asked him about an offensive lineman, and he goes, the fact that you're asking means that he does his job and doesn't get flags thrown at him, which is really smart because unless I know my offensive line on Tampa, but if I'm playing another team, I only know the guys that are really bad,
Yeah. Yeah. I like that they picked Neal there. I thought maybe they'd go with Cross, but I don't think Neal was a bad pick by any means. And it was a big need for him. I can't say I'm real. The Wan'Dale pick in the second round, it doesn't excite me a whole lot. It kind of shows maybe that they're going to move on from Kadarius Toney, who was already rumored to be on the trade block and then also rumored to be kind of a knucklehead. And
what's funny is that you make that comment about him being a knucklehead, and then I think about whose team he's on in the NAO.
Well, I'll give you a hint. It's another knucklehead, so they match. It's a matching set,
Something stinks about this.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that guy. I don't know. That to me, I think they could have done better overall. It's not a commentary on Wandale. I just feel like with what they needed on the team, they maybe could have done a little better there. We'll see. Well, it's got to.
Well, one of the common factors that all these teams that we're going to talk about tonight on the NAO show is that they have multiple needs. It was probably going to be harder for them to mess up the draft royally than it was to be awesome, get the A+, do everything right at the time that they needed to.
Yeah.
Especially in this draft, the draft in the first round and the second round, we saw trades like every pick was a trade, it seemed like. And with that much jockeying around, I just imagine all the GMs are on the phone just going like this, boom, 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 talking to all different GMs trying to get up into the trades or down in the trades. So I mean, this was probably a really, on our end, we're seeing a lot of trades, a lot of action, but on GM side, it's probably hell on wheels.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think they did well overall. We got a new crew in there now, running things, new coaching staff and everything. And I like the way they're starting out here with the draft. They picked up a guard there in the third round. So again, addressing that line. Even their tight end that they got, Bellinger, he could be sneaky good. He's a good blocker. So it kind of, and they moved on from Evan Ingram. They brought in Ricky Seals Jones, who's older. So I think this guy, he's going to come in there and could be another good piece on the line, so to speak. Someone that's learning the tight end position. So you can kind of see the direction they're going there, and I like it overall because they've just been a mess. And poor Daniel Jones, he's kind of a darling to some, and to others he's a bust. And I kind of come somewhere in between, and I just want to see what he can do with a little bit better line and some better supporting cast around him, better defense. So they can the defense can help out there too a little bit. And so I like what they did overall.
Talking about defense, moving into our second team here, the New York Jets get the Souths, who I think is a pretty darn good pick. It came down to either him or Stingley from LSU, and Sauce is a pretty good player. I mean, obviously LSU love, but the Jets went back and forth with defense, then offense, and then kind of hit every big area they needed to fill right now.
Yeah. There were many that had Gardner as a top guy there. They followed that up at pick 10 with Garrett Wilson. I was almost a genius, a prophet, a genius, because the news came out later that they turned down a trade for Debo there, and I had called that shot. Although I can't take full credit for it. That's just going by what I'm reading in the news and stuff, But they ended up with Garrett Wilson. Nice consolation prize if you don't get Debo Samuel, I think,
Right.
Then they traded back up in the first, and they got Jermaine Johnson, who dropped like a rock for some reason, edge rusher out of Florida State. Yeah. And so, I mean, Gardner and Jermaine Johnson on your defense, and you still got Garrett Wilson on offense, all in the first round. I mean, you kind of had to rub your eyes and look again. Is that the Jets? They're talking about the Jets?
Yeah, I mean, like I was right there with you when this was happening. I'm like, are the Jets good now? Like, do they have a GM that's doing their job? Like, wait, it just baffled me. I was just so surprised. I was like, I could get behind all these picks, you know what I mean? And the fact that they did move up again to go get a guy that was probably being projected to be mid first round, early first round, and he was dropping in the first round. And they went and got him.
Yeah, yeah, that was odd, and they were smart enough to hop in there and get him. I'd still like to know what happened there. I mean, people were speculating. Is there a video? Is there some video, that's going to come out with this guy, or, did he murder somebody? Or,
The league chat was going crazy. It was hilarious.
yeah, and it's funny because we've had those things. Laramie Tunsil was one with the gas mask video, and then Lyle Collins right before the draft. Remember, he was a witness in the murder, or no, something on the murder. There was a murder thing, murder
You
investigation.
couldn't make this up.
And he was implicated in some way, and then he dropped, and Cowboys got him. Of course, they didn't freaking sign him and let him go to Cincinnati, but that's another story for another time. But yeah, we're expecting, okay, what's going on? Something's going on with this guy. But I guess there was nothing. I'd still like to know what the heck happened,
How do you think these picks are going to affect Zach and Carter? I mean, we didn't get into the second round with the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, didn't even get to Brees Hall yet,
Yeah.
Second round. Yeah, it's Carter. If anybody's been listening to me since pre-draft last year, I wasn't high on Carter, and Evan kind of nailed me the other day. Said that I know you like your running backs to be good in pass protection. He's like, he realized I have a type, and I kept
blonde,
talking.
Blue-eyed,
Yeah,
good at pass protection.
Yeah,
can catch in the flat.
That's right, man. But I kept talking about that with him, and the fact that he was, a little undersized, and I didn't think he was a 3-down back, So I'm not surprised at all that they went for Hall. I think that Carter will still have a role, but I think they sort of got the Javante, that Carter had when he was at North Carolina. They got the guy that can kind of do it all, but doesn't have to do it all. Carter can come in there and spell him some. So yeah, I mean, amazing to think that Brees Hall was their fourth pick in the draft. Their fourth pick.
And they had Jets.
Yeah. So yeah, I know I'm still rubbing my eyes like, wait, it's really
every year I do a team draft where you draft like 5 different NFL teams and you get points for wins, and then in the playoffs in the Super Bowl. The Jets are a dark horse, my dude.
Yeah.
Like, I know they got to play the Patriots and I know they got to play Miami, but Lord, if all these pieces start to mesh and the players start buying in, like, I think we're going to see a run on Jets players, like the Berrioses of the world that win championships for guys,
It's weird. Those guys that draft Garrett Wilson this year will be trying to trade for Zach Wilson, which this time last year, well, even say mid-season would have been like, yeah, I ain't trying to trade for Zach Wilson, but heck, they might try to get that Wilson squared stack right there. Right?
Well, as a proud owner of the Joe squared stack, I'm very pro attaching those two.
You gotta love it, man. They got Jeremy Ruckert in the third, which seemed kind of a weird pick after they signed Conklin from Minnesota and they signed Uzoma from Cincinnati.
Well, obviously they're going to try to get some competition at the position and try to get the best out of it,
Yeah, I mean, and these guys take a little while. To me, in the third round, again, I might have tried to do something different, but maybe they see him as their tight end of the future behind those guys. And I will say that, I think Ruckert is probably better than what his college profile shows because he played behind so many good receivers. I mean, they didn't need to throw the ball to the tight end a whole lot, But
Conklin's no slouch either. I mean, everyone thought he was going to be the next coming in Minnesota. Then he gets hurt, unfortunately, and we don't ever see that actually flourish. But shoot, if he stays on the field for 16 games, he's going to be pretty darn good, I think.
Yeah, and we've seen what Uzoma can do. Of course, he had a great quarterback the last couple of years to do that with. he might be taking a step down a little bit to Wilson, but if Wilson makes a step forward, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I might have gone a different way if I'm the Jets, but like I say, maybe they're looking at we got these guys signed for a couple of years, and maybe by that time Rucker will be ready to take over the reins at the tight end spot.
An interesting fact that I was contemplating for the last couple of weeks since the draft uh, is that these teams that drafted younger quarterbacks, the Jets of the world, the Philadelphia Eagles of the world, they're really bolstering their team in weapons. And I think it's all in anticipation of the 23 draft, where we're going to see a lot of higher end QB caliber guys that they're going to be at the. I don't think the Jets will be right there. Maybe if they do something Jets worthy, like, because I mean, they just drafted Zach Wilson. That you got to give him a couple of years, but definitely Philadelphia. They're going to be getting that team ready for another, if they need to make a change, not the other word, but a change at quarterback. They're going to be sitting pretty in 23 and looking at that new draft class.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think, as high as they drafted Zach Wilson, they're going to have to stick it out for a little while with him.
Right.
But you're right that they are, some of these teams are doing a good job of bringing in weapons. And it's kind of interesting because now we're seeing all of a sudden seeing receivers, a lot more receivers going in the first round, which makes the first round a little more exciting, especially when you get all those trades,
Which I think started with the Justin Jefferson draft class, like with him and then Chase hitting right after that. And then other really big wide receivers like DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, all these receivers hit the ground running. It's a byproduct of the college game looking so similar to the NFL game in that these wide receivers coming into the NFL, they are so pro ready that they're hitting like what used to be the year 2, year 3 stride. And when they're the elite wide receivers coming in the class.
Right. Yeah. They're giving them a chance earlier. And I think it's maybe kind of a Tyreek effect where these teams want these big plays. They want the big play potential, and they're bringing in guys that can deliver that, because you look at what Mahomes and Tyreek did together. Tyreek only needed 3 or 4 plays to destroy another team. Right. So
you're talking to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan where he put up 200 yards in the first half. I know darn well what Tyreek Hill can do.
He did the same to the Cowboys when he was still a relative unknown, and I think he had a kickoff return like right before the half, and they kick it off to the guy, and they clawing their way back in, they kick off, and he gets a kickoff return for touchdown, and you're like, that's before he was as well known, but right. Yeah, but I think a lot of teams are going for that potential now. They want these big play guys because they know that 2 or 3 or 4 of these plays, man, can make a big difference in a game. So I like it. It's going to be exciting for the game, I think, so
it's kind of doing what in the olden days where they get the quarterback and they're like, all right, this is the quarterback we're going to build around. We're going to get weapons for him. They're doing it the other way around now.
Yeah.
They're getting weapons that fit the offensive playbook. And then they're going out and hoping that they get the quarterback that fits the playbook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Cincinnati is probably the last team that will get a quarterback and then build around him. I mean, they did have Mixon there, and then they drafted Higgins a year before Joe Burrow. But same year.
Same year, right?
Same year.
Yeah.
And now they're just red hot, and they just caught the lightning in the bottle of Joe Burrow, and they went to the freaking Super Bowl after being not even a sub note in the season,
Yeah. So to wrap up the Jets talk, I wonder if we'll be saying the same thing about the Jets, because Cincinnati was a joke of the league. No, Cincinnati was a joke of the league though for a while.
Yeah.
So have been the Jets, but they got Robert Saleh there, who is good, and I think he inspires his players. And we could see something similar. I'm not going to call it.
Which the last point about this, it'd be hilarious if that were to happen, because the Cleveland Browns have been trying to be that storyline for like the last 15 years. They're always like, all right, we're the laughing stock of the league. We're going to do something to get us back in there, you know? And if the Jets and Cincinnati were to do it before the Cleveland Browns have been trying to do it for the last 15 years, you know, it'd be hilarious.
Yeah. Well, we talked about, you mentioned, these teams getting weapons for their guys. We're going to move on to the Bears. So,
wah, wah, wah. Spoiler alert.
I'm not sure what you're getting at there. I was going to ask you to tell us what the Bears did to get weapons for their guy.
Oh, so, let me reiterate that. Womp, womp, womp.
You want to start us off on the Bears?
There we are, watching the draft. The Bears come on the clock, and you and I, we're not experts by any means. We're not ever going to tell anyone that we're experts. But I think between the two of us, we have a pretty good pulse on a team, any given team, like what they need, what have you. And just by circumstance, we both have a good amount of stock in Justin Fields.
Yeah.
We both look at each other and go, all right, they need to draft a wide receiver. It's a wide receiver heavy draft. You can't mess it up, like just get us another set of hands. These guys, we underestimated their dumbness.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have a pick until the second round, but they were picking high enough to get in on some good guys. I think wasn't Sky Moore still around when they were picking?
Sky Moore was dropping like a rock. He could have been there.
Yeah, he ended up going to a better situation in Kansas City. So he's thankful that the Bears continued to be inept at drafting. But I have to say, I'll give them a little bit of credit because they took two guys in the second round. You won't know them. Most guys won't know them. Cornerback Kyler Gordon and safety Jaquan Brisker. These are two good guys. And I think they really bolstered their defensive secondary. But is that boring as hell or what? I mean, you got Justin Fields, and we want the guy that's going to put Justin Fields over the top.
Give us a wide receiver. Yeah. Give us a wide receiver.
They've got Darnell Mooney.
Good wide receiver. Don't get me wrong.
He's been good. He's a little undersized, and he's not a true number one. He's not a boundary.
He's been getting number one looks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He needs help.
Yeah. They did draft a wide receiver though. In the third round, they drafted a guy who I'm kind of partial to because he's a lot closer to my age than he is your age.
We're talking about the draft, Marky Mark. We're not supposed to be talking about your age in association with the draftees.
Well, Velus Jones is getting ready to turn 25, 6 years senior. I think he got his doctorate. He was in school long enough to get his doctorate. So, it's a guy who moved around a lot, and he had his breakout year. But like I said, he's 24 years old, having a breakout year that you don't get excited about.
20-year-olds.
Yeah. So I'll be talking more to the Tennessee fans in our league to try to get a read on him. But you mentioned that I've got a share of Justin Fields in a new startup, a 2-quarterback lead, and I'm looking at the draft thinking whoever they drafted at wide receiver, I'm going to make sure I get him to stack with Fields. And now I'm looking at Jones and like, this is dynasty, man. He's 25 years old.
You got him for like 3 years, maybe, unless he hits really heavy like a Cooper Kupp or Stephon Diggs, where you can ride him out until his 30s. But good luck.
Yeah, I had such
as another manager in that league, you should definitely draft him. He's a good guy to get.
I have to look at him because I mean, I honestly, looking at some of his tape from last year, he was kind of a beast, and I haven't talked to Evan or Ricky or Brandon, to get the, give me the eye test and tell me what you saw and what you think. Um,
Spoken just like somebody that's about to draft him in a 2 quarterback league.
yeah, but I can't spend a high draft pick on him, you know. So I was very disappointed. I'm like, I'm already thinking, well, maybe next year. But
Womp
man,
womp
but are
womp.
are we are we excited about our shares of Justin Fields?
uh,
You know,
let
um,
me let me dive into that a little bit. So if Justin Fields runs for 100 yards every game
yeah.
and dumps the ball to a guy named Herbert or Montgomery, I guess I'd be happy with him as my QB2 in a 1 quarterback league in the NAO. But if I was a owner of him in a 2 quarterback league, I might be pooping rocks.
Well, let me look up Jones's 40 time if it's
Oh, that's
available.
going to make a lot of difference because he might be able to
Well,
take the top off the defense, but it's going to take time for him to do that. And by that time, uh, he's going to be like 67 years old, so it's not even going to be that big a deal.
yeah, I mean, we joke. I mean, it's not like he's ready to be put out to pasture, but coming in at he'll time the league starts, he'll be 25 years old. So that's just kind of that's old for
Well, on the
dynasty.
other side of that coin, people will come in at 21, 22, and then they start really hitting their stride unless they're like an absolute elite wide receiver at 26, 27. That
Yeah,
puts him at like 30 years old.
yeah. Well, now he's hitting that age apex as we talk about for wide receivers. So it's just going to be how quickly can he transition to the NFL.
Right.
So I got him up here 4.31. That's a top 40 time amongst receivers right there. 6 foot, 204 pounds. So he's got good size.
He sounds like he's
Um,
going to be returning the football.
yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, they picked him in the third round, so that's not your typical spot for a special teams guy. Um, they could put him as a punt returner or a kick returner, probably maybe punt returner. I would think.
Hmm.
It wouldn't be a bad place to put him. So
Shoot, Miami put Waddle back there a
yeah,
few
yeah,
times.
yeah. CD was doing it for Dallas, so that's it's not out of the realm of possibility there. But yeah, we'll just have to see how quickly he can transition, and if that speed will translate to anything good for Fields. If he
Hmm.
if he can if he can keep a safety sneaking over his way, then it could help Mooney out. And they brought in Pringle. They just really don't have much there. You looking at their wide receiver depth chart is sort of like, huh? you know.
Well, that's the thing where we were sitting. Like, we were both like, all right, they need a wide receiver. Let's think of all the things that this could help. Just the ripple effects of getting a decent to upper class wide receiver. It's gonna make the defenses not sit in the box. So Montgomery's not gonna be looking at 7, 8 people in the box against him, trying to make 3 people miss in a phone booth.
Yeah,
Mooney's
yeah,
going to be more one-on-one, not getting the double coverage because, like we said earlier on the show, he's not a true wide receiver one. So that helps him. And this helps a developing quarterback be able to get a little extra time to look at wide receivers and the dump off before he runs forever, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I guess our best hope is that he runs the ball a little bit more, if things aren't working well with the receiving core. So that
Yes,
could be
run
the
for
one.
16 touchdowns this year.
Yeah,
That'd be
that could
great.
be our silver lining there, but we'll see what happens. So, well, let's move on to our last team we want to talk about. That is the Detroit Lions. So they picked Aiden Hutchinson in the first round, which I thought was really awesome that the Michigan guy stays right there in Detroit. Well, stays right there in the state anyway, going to
Mhm.
Detroit now. That was kind of a neat thing. They moved up, they had pick 32, and they moved up to take Jameson Williams at pick 12, which was
Why?
nice. Huh? Why?
Why?
Why? Well, hey,
Why?
um, doing what the Bears probably should have done. You got Jared Goff. You got to get him something, man. If you're going to run with Jared Goff, then you better get him the best damn receiving court you can get him. So now they're looking at Jameson and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you've got T.J. Hawkinson, and you got Swift.
DJ Chark.
Yeah, Chark now is there too. Yeah, thank you. I'd forgotten about him. So, yeah, you got to get guys you can throw it up to.
I
They've
was just
got
asking why, because obviously that makes total sense. And then you get other teams like we've already spoken about, the Bears, that just don't do what's the easiest thing to do.
yeah,
Why
yeah,
not draft a really good wide receiver?
yeah, yeah. No, I like it. Now they've got a lot of weapons there. Now, of course, Jameson, he's saying he'll be ready. They would be smart to start him off on the pup. And if they do that, then maybe his development is a little bit slower coming along, but he could be somebody in the late season that might really help a fantasy team. Um,
I think with him, it's going to be not his ability to intake the information, like learn the playbook, learn the calls. It's going to just be when his body is ready.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's going to, well, what we saw with Cam Akers, like usually season ending injuries, come back quicker. I think that's just a general increase for injuries now. Like
yeah.
people are going to start coming back sooner than we had originally anticipated and be
Yeah,
good.
no, very true. We're at a point now where these guys hurt their knees, and then they get surgery, and it's sort of like it's almost like a bionic knee kind of thing. They've got it,
They
they're
turn into a
stronger.
robot. Who
It's
doesn't want to
it's
do that?
it's better than it was before they got hurt. But if I as someone who has hyperextended both of my knees and one of them twice, um,
That
it's
was also in like the 70s.
come on, man. You don't have to put me back that far. I know I'm an old fucker, but you don't have to put me back that far.
Old is how
I
we like to say it on the show.
I played high school football varsity from 82 to 84. All right. So yeah, but yeah, as someone who's hurt my knees in that way, the mental part is a big part of it.
Yeah,
And it's still you got to rehab and get it back up to speed, and so they are doing better about those things, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be a game one starter. I don't think anyway. So
right.
maybe he can avoid the pup, but if he does, then they need to still working him in slowly, I think.
Well, the thing is, the good thing about Detroit, and I didn't misspeak, I said the good thing about Detroit is that they have weapons to throw to already. They don't really need him to come in and take over. Amon St. Brown, great last year. DJ Chark has had flashes before his injury that he was real, real good. We all love Hawkinson. Like these are all solid targets for average quarterback to throw to in golf.
Yeah, yeah. Now these guys definitely are going to make it tough on defenses once they're all in, if they're all in there healthy, which you kind of hope for. And I really think they've made themselves a better team. Again, Detroit been a joke of the league, but I
Yeah.
like what they're doing under Dan Campbell. I think they brought him in as the guy that the kind of a bridge coach. We'll have you for a couple of years while we rebuild, and we'll fire you and bring in who we like. But Campbell's making a good case to stay there. I think the way he's inspiring his players.
Well, I
Um,
think he's in the right being in the NFC and not the AFC. He could make bigger jumps in the NFC than he could have in the AFC. So I think it's going to help him a lot because, I mean, and I'm an NFC team fan, and we have a easier side of the bracket than the AFC. If we were in the
At this
AFC,
point, yeah.
if we were in the AFC, like Detroit wouldn't be, they'd be a subtotal, not subtotal, but a
Subpar.
subpar. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. They picked up a couple other guys on defense, Josh Pascal, edge rusher, and then Kirby Joseph, safety. Um, you know, those are Dan Campbell kind of guys, man. That Aiden Hutchinson also is, these are Dan Campbell types that are going to play hard and give it everything they have. And Detroit was in a lot of games last season. They really, they make a little bit of a jump here. The one thing I'm not sure about is their line. I haven't researched it lately here to see what kind of shape the line is in. They didn't do anything in the early rounds for line. So I'm gonna assume that they're okay. Detroit being such a bad team, I have to admit I don't know all of their players. I can't name their linemen off the top of my head. I want to say they have a good center. Well, Ragnow, if he's still there, I think he's still there. Frank Ragnow, but he might have even be gone by now. But yeah, that's kind of my knowledge on Detroit. Is they might have one good guy on their line.
Well, the story of the team has good weapons. That's all we got to really say. And that they're on the upside. Like, I'm a big believer in Swift. Swift is a fantastic running back, both for the NFL team and very good for freaking fantasy owners.
Yeah.
Take top Mike. And then like their wide receivers are going to get better. I mean, they're taking a shot with DJ Chark, but
that's what I was saying. Don't underestimate those defensive moves they made, because they had some good weapons. They brought in another top weapon in this year's draft in Jameson Williams. They kind of quietly added some guys to the defense, and I think all of a sudden it's going to be a little bit different there in Detroit. So
see, I look at defensive pickups as pickups that are beneficial to the run game. So because if you don't need to score a lot of points and you're up, what you're going to do, you're going to run out the clock, run your runner, So.
And they have Swift, and they have Jamal Williams, and they have Jamar Jefferson.
Yep.
They could certainly do that. They can certainly do it. Yeah.
Well, it's been a fun show this week. We got the draft, the NAO rookie draft coming up. And a little word to the wise, if you take more than 20 hours to freaking make your pick, I'm going to be talking shit about you.
Yeah. We may pass a rule. We can't have that in the NAO.
I know you get 24 hours, but it doesn't take you 24 hours to make a fourth round pick.
We almost got it in a single day last year, so I'm looking forward to beating whatever time we had last year. Maybe we'll get it in all on Saturday.
You heard it right, folks. Marky Mark said, get it in and beaten all in the same sentence. If you've seen the show, you know the ending. Ian, you suck.